The top of the Empire State Building.
Z100 New York.
Hey, what's going on? I'm Josh Martinez with Z100, New York's #1 hit music station, with my guest, Ellie Goulding. Hello, darling.
I don't know why I did that. Hello.
I don't know why I said darling with an English accent.
Oh, darling.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I got that from. But you're back in New York City.
Yes.
I'm gonna just put you on the spot. I want to know, what is one thing you love about New York City, and one thing you hate about New York City?
Okay. What do I love? I love the... since I've been here, I feel like everyone's been so nice and so just friendly. Not always the case in London. Sometimes people can just be a bit shy and a bit quiet.
Okay.
Like if you're sat on the tube and you like make eye contact with someone, it's like the worst thing ever. It's like, whereas here it feels like everyone's a bit more kind of like, people are morning people here, I feel like. Everyone gets up and just on the grind. And then the one thing I don't think there's anything I hate. No, I can't think of anything I hate. Wait, what's something you hate? You probably know more than me.
Public transportation. Yeah, which, I mean, you're in a position where you don't have to worry about that, which is a good thing when you visit here. But yeah, it sucks.
Really?
It is the dirt worst. It is hot.
Is it
humid.
smelly?
Depending on what cart you get on and who else is on it, it could get
I
very
lived
smelly.
here for a couple of years. I did get on the subway.
Okay.
And I just remember it was quite hot and smelly.
Yes, which is the worst, especially in the summer.
Yeah.
And like July, we had like the highest average weather like ever, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, it sucks.
Didn't you guys have like last year have crazy floods in the subway?
Yes, that was
That's
just like
wild.
a really bad week's worth of storms, and then of course, you know, things go viral, and we just sit there and keep posting about it and shitting all over the transit system. But then we get back on the next day, so it is what it is.
It got drained out.
Yeah. So you have a new song, you have a new video with Big Sean, Easy Lover. How did the Big Sean collaboration come about?
Well, we've kind of stayed in touch since I think I met him in LA. I think I was like dating Sonny at the time. That was like, well, my old life. But he sampled me on a couple of things. And to be honest, I'm just always appreciative of someone that has appreciated me in the early days. And so I always said, like, we should do something together at some point. And like 10 years later, here we are. But I sent him the song. I wasn't sure if he was going to even like this song. You know, I wasn't sure if it was his thing. But then he loved it, and he just sent back the craziest verse on it. And he always has this knack of, he never sits on top of anything. He always like he'll listen to the song, he'll try and understand the meaning, and then he'll do something that really complements it. And I just think he's so talented, and I've heard his new album and it's amazing. And I like it when like you get to make songs, get to make art with people that are just really good people. I just think that's like good sort of karma. And yeah, so I'm very happy that we got together in the end.
I was gonna say, I'm a big Sean fan, so I know he sampled your songs.
Wait for the next album.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Ooh, okay.
It's so good.
Look at Ellie Goulding dropping some hip hop nuggets about Big Sean's upcoming album.
Stuff. Yeah.
But he sampled music on his first 2 albums, I believe, which is over a decade ago.
Yeah.
So I mean, you guys have been in contact for that
for a long
then.
time, and we finally just made it happen. But I never count. It feels like the last 3 years just kind of went by, and so now like, you know, saying 5 years ago is really like saying like 2 years ago in work sort of terms, because nothing's really happened. I mean, I did have a child, but that's about it.
Minor details of bringing in an entire human being to this life.
I know.
How is? I'm not a parent. Don't plan on being a parent anytime soon. So how's the mom life?
Don't do it. It is really incredible. It is one of those things where you suddenly just have this mad respect for women. Just these small, teeny tiny things that you have. You know, there are these little struggles and little moments of just like, you have to remind yourself that so many women are going through the same thing, because you feel, you know, it's a lonely kind of time where you're just trying to navigate everything, and you know, you just becoming a mum overnight is crazy, because it's not just like a physical thing, but just emotionally. You know, you get afraid of everything. You're just so protective, and it's like a new part of your brain opens up. Like literally, all these like new neurons are just firing everywhere, like billions. And so, yeah, naturally, you're just like a new person. So you have to try and almost like come to grips with literally becoming someone else overnight. So yeah, I can understand now why motherhood is like such a big undertaking and a brave undertaking. And I've tried to balance it as much as possible with work. And it kind of works. It's just, it's a little bit more of a struggle than before when I was just going around solo. But I've made it work. I think that's just what we do.
Now, you did mention, obviously it's something new for you. Do you find yourself reaching out to certain people for mom advice, whether it is people you grew up with or friends and stuff like that?
I crave it all the time. Certain things will happen, like I'll feel guilty about something, or I'll try and reach out to other singers. There's a couple of British singers that have kids. There's a couple of singers here that I know that have kids. And honestly, I wish we just had some kind of WhatsApp group or something where we can just all be like, what happened when did you take them on tour this time? Did you take them to this, take them to that? Because I think I would just I'd love to know that like other people are in the same boat, because it's such it's a pretty unique job and situation. Especially like going to the studio as well. It's very like, it's complicated. So I would love just like a group of all of the like, because I think it's really admirable that like we just carry on, and it is not easy. It is not easy. So I would love that kind of camaraderie, I think, of other female singers.
Do you find yourself maybe feeling as though like, if I reach out to this person who I know is in the exact same situation, I feel like I'm a burden, or I feel like I'm adding to this person's plate, rather than just being like, yo, got an issue. How did you do this?
Yeah. But you know what? Something I discovered after I became a mum, and I picked up all these little like baby hacks of certain things, like only getting zip up baby grows because like the buttons are just too annoying, or like certain food hacks, or like having like a milk station in my bedroom so I didn't have to like keep running downstairs to go make milk, things like that. And so I found myself wanting to help, and I found myself making like new friends. I've always been a bit of a introvert and don't have a huge amount of friends. And so it was really nice, and I felt really supported when people would reach out with like little bits of advice. And I feel like you want to help. There's something about becoming a new mom and knowing what it's like to be a new mom that makes you, you'll be there. If someone needed, if a new mom, a friend who was a new mom needed me, and I would be there, because I know how hard it is, and especially when it's just it's all new and it's all like it's a lot. So yeah. I think you want to help.
Do you find yourself kind of doing the very simple 2022 thing of just going on TikTok and trying to find these little hacks and
all
such?
the time? All the time. I'm on TikTok a lot. Okay. My fans know that I'm more of a like creeper TikTok. I'm more of a like I watch them more than I actually create them. But yeah, all the time. In fact, I type on Instagram and TikTok, I type in like hashtag like new mom, or hashtag like, each month. When he was like 3 months, 4 months, I would type in that just to see what would come up. I think you have to, like, you realize that so many people are in the same boat, and you just want to feel like you're not alone,
And I think a lot of people probably, obviously, you're a celebrity, you're an artist, a successful artist, you have performed in front of like quite literally the biggest people on planet Earth in these headlining festivals and such. I think people look at us, look at you and other celebrities as like, well, they're up here, and how can we relate? Not realizing that at the end of it all, it's like, new mom needs to figure out how to put child to sleep because they're fidgety. What's your technique, Susie in Brooklyn or someone in Scotland, by just looking on TikTok?
Yeah.
And I think the more that we could talk about it, it's
100%. And I always feel like I've managed to, just through the people around me and through just my mentality of what I know is the best way to operate just in life, through like being kind to myself, being kind to others. I feel like I've kept myself in a good place. But yeah, I get that people might not think that I'm relatable, but then you become a mum, and it's like the most humbling, universal thing where you're on the same level as everyone, and everyone goes through the same things. And so it is definitely the thing that has like taught me the most, and brought out both my strengths and my weaknesses as just a human being.
So again, I don't have a kid, but I've heard blowouts are the most awful thing ever.
Oh, like blow drying the hair?
No. Blowouts, when it just explodes out of the diaper.
Oh, Oh, yeah, I've had that happen to me. And suddenly you just don't care about poop. Like, yeah, it's very humbling because, you know, I've had like poop all over my hands, on my face, on my clothes, and so much vomit as well, just all the time. But suddenly you just don't care that much about poop, which is quite nice, actually. You know, you get over the fear of poop having a baby.
I had buffalo wings, and the breading on the wings felt too slimy for my hands. So I guess we'll reevaluate things in a few years to see how the poop on my hand ends up being.
Yeah, got it.
You did mention before you were introverted. We are getting ready for back to school season and such. How would you describe yourself as a high school student back in the day?
I had some really good friends in school, but I've always been like introverted, I think. It definitely got not worse, but it definitely intensified when I became a teenager. I became quite kind of reclusive. I was what they called I was like a goth at the time. I like had my lip pierced, which I think was just kind of like a stay away thing. I was like, stay away from me. And I had like all this hair, but it's like down to here, and I dyed it black like every few weeks. And so, yeah, I became increasingly more kind of like kept myself to myself, but I did love school. I think that was the biggest thing, is I loved learning, and I didn't go to like a particularly special school. It was pretty basic. But and you know, some of the teachers were good, some weren't so good, but the biggest thing was that I really loved learning. I loved geography, and I don't know what you guys have here compared to us, but we had like the classics like geography, history, science, math.
What was your favorite subject?
Geography.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like all right at history. And then obviously like English, I did a lot of quite creative writing and poetry and stuff like that.
What was, obviously you've had so much success for the years that you've been an artist, a successful artist at that. What has been your favorite country to visit based on your love of geography?
Yeah. The first place that comes to mind, there's so many places I still want to visit, but I went to Greenland, which was pretty incredible. I had no idea what to expect. I've only ever like flown over it. And Greenland is very, what is it? Greenland is very icy, and then Iceland is very green. Is that like the? Yeah, exactly.
Like that's how I remember it as a kid.
Yeah, exactly. Increasingly less icy because a lot of the glaciers are now melting out of nowhere, which is very scary. But I went there, to go and see actually a glacier that was kind of in peril. That was, you know, I wanted to see it for myself, and you know, hearing the ice cracking, kind of falling into the sea in front of your very eyes is that's more humbling than anything. Like that is just the enormity of it just completely like shook me to the core. It was just crazy. And so that was pretty cool. I mean, that was with the UN. I work with the UN. And then the other place, which was beautiful, I remember jumping off the Auckland Tower there. I don't know how I did that. I would never do it now. I've got the fear now. But it was New Zealand. So beautiful. You feel like you're in just like you feel like you're in Lord of the Rings. Like it's so incredible. So those are two places that have like really stayed with me.
So when you visited the glacier that broke apart, is that something that I know nothing about? Obviously, you are.
What would you like to know? Well,
you're way more like into it. So you said that they were cracking and kind of fell apart. Is that something that happens like periodically, every few hours? Every few hours is just slowly chipping away, essentially?
I would say probably a little slower than every few hours, but at the moment there's some kind of crazy statistic about how much water, how much water is like somebody. I went to COP26, which is the big like environmental conference that happens every year. It was in Glasgow last year, and then this year it's in Egypt. Yeah. So everyone gets together and makes these big pledges for the planet. So the big one this year was 30 by 30, which is protecting 30% of all oceans by 2030. Because you know oceans are being completely overfished. It's like the most unsustainable thing ever, and just things are being destroyed. And then obviously with the glaciers melting into the sea, it's like unbalancing all the pH. So like fish are moving around, and everything's just becoming, the whole system on our planet is just becoming messed up by this. It does happen. Like glaciers melt and obviously come back again, but now it's happening at an unprecedented rate, and it's just a sign that the planet is heating up quite quickly and rapidly.
If somebody wanted to get more information on all this stuff, that's very like. I know it's an issue. I don't know how to take that first step to learn more. What would be the best way to go about that?
I think now people are starting to realize by seeing it for themselves. I think a lot of people thought that climate change was something that happened to people like quite far away from them and that it would never affect them. But I think now with the subways flooding and like England having a huge drought at the moment, which it hasn't happened in like 500 years or something. I think people are now seeing it for themselves and are starting, I think people are really starting to worry about it now. So what you can do is, you can follow me for a start, because I'm always posting information on it, and follow good news sources. Like there are, the UN always posts reliable stuff, but then there's other, Instagram accounts. I think it's really important to always follow like reliable as possible news. I follow something like I think it's really good to stay optimistic as well. And there's something called like climate positive news. So every week you can learn about the really positive stuff that's happening in the world, because I think it's really good to stay like positive. And then I think you can like, why don't you just like reach out to like local communities or like people in your area or friends and just start things yourself. Like maybe it just needs to start local. And you never know who else is going to be interested or concerned about it. So I think that's a good way to start. I
love it. I dig it. Let's get back to Easy Lover, the single that's out now. You wrote that 5+ years ago?
Yeah. I wrote it in LA. I was doing a little writing trip there, and I was working with Greg Kurstin, who obviously is a legend and has produced some of the best songs of all time. And then Julia Michaels, who also is amazing, and she's written some epic songs. So at the time, I think one of us was dealing with, can I swear?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
One of us was dealing with a fuckboy at the time. I can't remember whether it was me or her. But that's where the song came
Is that how much the both of you have dealt with? You're like, I don't know which story.
Yeah, we've lost count. But I think it's also like we're both creative. We're both quite emotional. We're both romantic. I'm speaking for her, but I think from what I remember that was the case. And then also and then Greg just came up with this guitar riff and then these drums, and I was like, this works. I didn't want it to be like anything too emotional. So yeah, and that's kind of how it happened. And then Big Sean got on it not so long ago actually. Yeah.
So what made you write this down? Compose the song, put it together 5 years ago, and then wait 5 years? Like I just don't know the songwriting process, right?
Well, because I've discovered that my songs, I clearly make songs that take a few years to like really get, for people to get into. It's happened with a lot of songs. Lights is just like
on TikTok,
kicked off on TikTok for the first time in like 12 years, which is wild. So I figured it had stood the test of time. I would get my friends like leaving me voice notes going like "Easy Lover," like singing along to it because they'd heard it once when I played it to them like 5 years ago, and they're like, that bloody song's still in my head. So I figured that was enough for me to realize that it could probably still work. And also I think it's of the sound right now. I think people just want to dance. People just want to sing along. And I felt like the ballad thing was not working for me right now. Just don't feel like doing any ballads. So
you're in a good place. You're in a good headspace. There's nothing wrong with that.
But am I in a good headspace? I am. I think musically I'm feeling really empowered, and I feel like I really know what I want in music. I think the anxiety thing that I developed, I've had forever, but like, since I had Arthur, it's still very much there. And so that's like a daily thing that I'm dealing with, where I wake up anxious, go to bed anxious. And I try and get through it with breathing and with yoga and with just like positive thinking and try and keep it sort of drug free. Which sometimes works, and then sometimes I have to like not go to the studio one day. I have to stay with Arthur. Like Arthur is the biggest like cure for my anxiety. I'm just hanging out with him for a bit. But like musically, weirdly, I feel like I'm in a good place. I'm discovering lots of good music at the moment. I had a long phase of like not listening to anything, and now I feel like some good stuff coming out, so I feel inspired.
I think a lot of that stuff has to do with connections, right? And just having a strong connection with someone or something to kind of keep that positive energy going. Off air, before we started this, we were talking about a documentary that you were kind of part of, and something didn't feel right. So I'm gonna throw it back on you. Tell us about that documentary situation that just didn't seem right, and why it didn't seem right to you.
I think, like you said, it was. I think it worked both ways. I think maybe I wasn't in the best place. I think your feet can come off the ground pretty quickly when you're doing my kind of job, and I think you don't know until you're out of it, that you look back and think, oh, I wasn't really in the best place then. So I think there was a combination of that and then it just didn't gel. And I just remember not really feeling like myself. And we were sat doing an interview and I didn't know what I was even talking about. I wasn't being completely honest. And I knew quite early on that it probably wasn't going to make for a good documentary. And that's why it didn't happen. But now I'm working with this woman, Laura, who's a legend, and she makes me feel like I can say whatever I want and like I can be myself. And that's what the point of it, I want people to know me, and I don't think people know me that well. And I think people know my music a lot more than like who I am. And I'm ready now for people to know that. I feel like I want to talk about how I deal with the anxiety. I want to talk about how I tour and how I stay healthy and how and also the activism. It's become such a big part of my life. I want people to see what I've been able to see and hopefully be inspired by it.
And I had a conversation recently with a friend, and I was helping her look for a therapist. And I was telling her, I was like, do you mind a guy or a girl? And she's like, why does it matter? And I was like, whoa, I'll tell you why it matters. Because I know when I started looking for my therapist, I wanted a young female.
Right.
And I felt a little weird kind of with that mindset, only to realize like, no. If that's what you feel most comfortable opening up to.
Why did you think you wanted a young female out of interest?
I think it goes back to like traumatic childhood with centered around my father.
Right.
So I think to me, growing up with a single mother, me and my sister were a year apart. I've always been around female energy.
Yeah.
I've always kind of been backing females and doing all I can for females. So to me, it was almost a comfort thing of they tend to be sweeter, nicer, more delicate even, right?
I think that we do have, I could argue that we have a certain amount of like just a smidge more like compassion and empathy. I know that, when I talk about climate, I want women, especially younger women, to have, more of a seat at the table because they do just have this extra compassion for the natural world, for the environment and for people. So I understand that. There is something about when women are amazing. And for me, I would also want a female therapist, just because I don't know. I can't imagine speaking. Weirdly, I can't imagine speaking to a male therapist. And it works for some people, but I'm maybe the same as you. Just whatever, in particular, my childhood, same. I had, I had my mum, not my dad. So yeah, maybe it's the same kind of thing.
It's probably, it comes down to probably like this. It's obviously a psychological, but like this comfort level of, okay, young, like delicate, sensitive woman compared to a guy who's sitting there. And I just imagine like these movie scenes where like the therapist is just all business and just like sitting there, like feeling like judgmental almost.
Yeah,
and like, you should never feel judged in therapy.
I can't recommend therapy enough. There's been times where I just walk in and you just cry or you feel some kind of release. Just knowing that someone is there, for you to talk to, who's unbiased, impartial, doesn't have any connection with your life, is not being devil's advocate, but is just being someone that you can literally just open up to. And maybe it doesn't feel it at the time in the moment when you're talking, but when you come out of it, you feel like, wow, I released that. And, even if you write stuff down, I'm more of I like to talk it out than write it down unless I'm like writing songs. But I really couldn't recommend it enough.
Journaling is cool. I recently got into journaling. That's been kind of cool. But therapy, I always say, like, it doesn't matter what the weather is outside. I will walk out of therapy and feel like it's 72 and sunny. Like the perfect weather.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just cry it out. And it's one of those things where like I'll go on a 3-minute diatribe where I cry. And then I sit there like, all right, well, we have like 50 more minutes. I feel fine already.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you have any techniques for yourself to kind of bring you back down to center or bring you back to like an even keel that you kind of trust and always works for you?
I focus a lot more on my sleep now than I ever did. Before Arthur, I could go out, I could drink till late, and then I could sleep in and get enough sleep and feel like I could have a hangover, but it was manageable. Whereas now, unless I sleep well, it affects everything. It affects my day, my mentality, my positive mindset. So sleep for me has been key, and whether that means checking to see if you've got enough magnesium. Maybe you need to take a bit of melatonin every now and then. I try and keep it all natural.
Of course.
But also, not looking at your phone right before bed if you can help it. Try and read a book. A big screen will literally those bright lights will drain the melatonin out of you. So you're going to wake up in the middle of the night and feel like crap. So sleep is so crucial. It's so much more important than anyone realizes. Getting enough sleep, and then breathing, taking some time in the day to take some really deep breaths, to hold your breath for a second, breathe out more than you breathe in, that kind of stuff. And you can look all that kind of stuff up on socials. It's everywhere at the moment. And then exercise. I can't even stress that enough. Even if it's just waking up, doing a bit of a dance, going for a walk, being in nature as much as you can. Even if it doesn't feel it at the time when you're walking through a forest or a woods or a park, it will have a long-term effect on you, a positive effect on you. So those are definitely my top tips.
So what can we expect from Ellie Goulding, the musician, for the rest of this calendar year?
I've got a couple more songs coming out. The next one I'm so excited about. We shot the video for it already. I love it. It's my favorite song. I would say it's a little bit Daft Punk inspired. It's a little bit Weekend inspired, maybe.
I'm already in.
Yeah. It's not what people would expect, I think. But I don't know. Who knows? I can only ever really tell when I bring the song out and get the reaction.
Of course.
Until then, I'm just who knows? People might hate it, but I'm willing to take that gamble.
So we'll hear more from Ellie Goulding for the rest of the year. We've covered so many different topics
we have. It's been so good. I've loved it.
I dig it. Ellie Goulding, one more time, thank you so much for coming, girl.
Thank you.
From the top of the Empire State Building.
C100.